I'm an ex-Outlaw Motorcycle Club member and I've been asked to do a review on the BikeRiders movie. This is my first ever review, so I had a look at other people's review of this movie to see what they thought, and my thoughts do not match theirs at all. I think a lot of these people are a little bit biased to say certain things in the movie do not happen in motorcycle clubs. When they do, they're only trying to portray the good parts of motorcycle clubs and none of the negatives. And I understand that if they're still in a club now. However, things do happen. I got asked to do this review from a friend that was also in a motorcycle club, and it triggered him immensely. And after watching the video, there were certain bits in the movie that I was like, holy shit, that is on point. Specifically in the end, when you see him sitting in the chair, thinking about the old days, missing it, reminiscing, or, just wondering. That is 100% true. I spent a lot of times around motorcycle clubs, and I never ever saw once a chick get treated badly like they did in that movie. I've only ever heard of one club that has a reputation for that. It wasn't my club, and I haven't heard of it ever happening anywhere else. I've heard of one instance ever, and I wasn't there for that, so I'm not going to mention where, when, or who, or how. But it could not have happened. It could have been a total bullshit story. But I don't think that happens. People are saying it's not an exact representation of what it's like to be in a club today. And that's true, because there were different times back then and clubs were just starting. So for back then, from all accounts that I've heard from old members, that is exactly what it was like in a club. And when I was in a club, it was still very similar to that. Except there was one rule is, there's no fighting between brothers. So everything went to a vote. That is different. One of the biggest things that rings 100% true, and I heard from nearly all the members, is that the new generation coming through the clubs changed them for the worse. That is across the board. I've heard from current members, ex-members, new members, specifically from every single older member that I've pretty much ever met, that the new generation is totally different and the whole club scene is changing. And I mean, you don't need to be a club member to see that. A lot of people said that it was far-fetched that they set a bar on fire. I heard stories, so many stories of pubs getting absolutely trashed. There was not one glass, bottle, cup, jar, whatever it was, windows on the fridges. I heard stories that they all got smashed completely for similar sort of events. It definitely does happen. I don't know about set on fire, but I have heard it before. There were actually so many points to this movie that I wanted to touch on that I actually got overwhelmed. And even now, I'm like, which point do I even talk about? There is so many facets to that movie that are on point, especially all the underlying emotional undertones. That the I'm never taking this patch off, you'll have to kill me first. I've heard that countless times by many, many people. I've said it myself. I was pretty much watching that movie going, I know what's coming next. Oh, that part. Oh, yeah. I know what's coming next after that. As far as bikie movies go, there's been a few I've tried to watch and turned off after even 5 minutes. But this one is probably the closest I've come across to being absolutely legit and having an emotional response from me. I definitely had, I wouldn't say triggered, but I definitely had an emotional response to it. And I'd never even thought about doing a review before. And the fact that I had ex-members contact me asking me what I thought, because they wanted to know if somebody like me who's done so much work would still get triggered by something like that, because it triggered them immensely and actually caused problems. Problems enough to reach out to me and want to talk about it. Even down to the members. I was watching that movie going, holy crap, he's just like this guy I used to know. Holy crap, he's just like this guy I used to know. Holy shit, he's just like this guy I used to know. And the transition from it being just an absolute, just fun, riding bikes, going to be more gangster is exactly the transition that the clubs did go through. I mean, it is from a book as well. And everything in that movie is pretty much from the book. It brought back all the emotions of, at the start of the movie, I missed it. I got to admit, I missed it bad. I was like, fuck, that was so much fun. Just riding bikes, hanging with the boys, having a laugh, giving each other shit. I really missed it, I got to admit. As the movie continued, and you could see the change coming through, you could see the drama starting to come through, all that cognitive dissonance, that everything was just great, started to go away. And then it started to become truthful about what it was really like and how things started to change, how everyone was going behind everyone. That's all true. That happens. I don't understand why people on here are saying it doesn't. Maybe because they're still in clubs now and they do have that cognitive dissonance and they're thinking that these things doesn't happen, because it does. Like, you'll watch my videos and you will see I say lots of good things about the clubs, but I also talk about some of the bad things because I'm trying to be non-biased. I think that's the determining factor. Even how he ran out of petrol, running away from the cops. I know someone that's actually happened to. Like, there is so much. If I could break down that movie and do 100 videos on it, on every single thing that I know happened, because I knew a member that it happened to. It was just, except for the girl scene where all the members were trying to take the girl upstairs. There was definitely some girls that were all for that sort of stuff, but if the girl didn't want that, I'm telling you, it wouldn't have happened. There's not a chance in the world. But all in all, I think it was a pretty good movie, and I liked the fact that I got an emotional response from it. It's a good movie.